welcome back to Within Reason. But before Bill reads some interesting punishments from the King James Version of the Bible, I'd like to read you this email. May I read this? Yeah. From an anonymous female, Monday night, November 26. Mr. Kerrigan, I used to disagree with you a few years ago on just about everything, kind of like you, okay? You with me on this?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I've moderated him.
You have. But now I agree with you on so much, not like you, especially about the ballpark being a financial disaster.
Well, I do agree with you on that.
Which it is. I am so glad that you were there to voice your opinion, point out things to the general public in Pensacola that we wouldn't know about otherwise. Good enough.
I think that's
Thank
right.
you. And we hope to do that. And if you all have tips for us, send them to us and we'll air them, okay? And if we make a mistake, like I did on this gas tax thing, because I didn't have the numbers right from Amy, we'll correct it on the air. By the way, I need to make another correction. When I said that we don't get any benefit in the city of Pensacola for our tax allocated to the sheriff's office, there was an error in that broad statement.
It was
and
a
it's
small
this.
error.
No, it was not major, but it was there. Yeah. Is that a portion of the sheriff's budget, and I don't know what the number is, I think it's around 25%, goes to the jail. We don't have a city jail anymore.
Right.
So
that's a good point.
In fairness
so we
to
get
the sheriff,
the jail.
You get the jail
Some
benefit
of the jail.
on your taxes. Yeah, okay. So back to this. So I just happened to remember that. Both of you, I enjoy your viewpoints. Yours too, apparently. And I think you're more in agreement with each other than you certainly used to be.
Yeah, well, you come around.
Well, I was thinking the same about you. Mr. Kerrigan, I really agree with you on most things now, and I enjoy your show. And I won't mention this lady's name, but we think...
Way too laudatory. Well, let's do it while we're doing emails. This is an interesting...
It's not way too laudatory. It's just a very nice... I read some kind of nice...
Read a bunch of encomiums to yourself. Come on. Here's a nice email that said, he heard about Republicans crossing lobbyists. Grover Nordquist is a guy who has a big group, and lots of Republicans have taken the no tax pledge. And here's the question. Would it be possible for you to mention on the Law Show the tax pledge, and is the tax pledge document legally binding members of Congress? Well, that's easy. The answer to that is no, but what they're concerned about is not some lawsuit. What they're concerned about is a political price to be paid, not being able to raise enough money.
You made that pledge and you violated that pledge. It cost George Bush the election.
That's the point they made.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the punishments.
All right.
Sorry to change that
anytime. That's all right.
Yeah.
We've never been all that organized, and there's no reason to start now.
I agree with that.
If a legislature passes laws and crimes, if they make crimes and things that you can't transgress, they always have to put in at the end of all of our statutes, if you do this, it's a misdemeanor of the first or second degree, or if it's a felony, and they tell you what the punishments are.
Correct.
So if we have the commandments in the courthouse, we ought to have the punishments, don't you think?
I agree.
Well, here are the punishments. Judge Moore, you don't hear this from Judge Moore. When he went out to Marcus Point Baptist Church, I suspect, I wasn't there, that he didn't point this out. So here are 10 punishments. Exodus, I won't cite the thing. He that sacrifices unto any god, save unto the Lord only, he shall be utterly destroyed. So watch out. Leviticus, and he that blasphemeth the name of the Lord, he shall surely be put to death. Now you're going to notice a pattern here. Exodus, whosoever doeth any work in the Sabbath day, you've been mowing your lawn, get ready, he shall surely be put to death.
Everybody who's doing something on the Sabbath day.
Yeah. Any work. That's in Exodus 31:15.
That's not good.
And what your preacher often points out, this is the Holy Bible. Every word of it is right. You do any work, curtains. So just because it hasn't happened yet. Good. Exodus, he that smiteth his father or his mother shall surely be put to death.
What does smiteth mean?
I guess that means, you hit them. Yeah. Oh, you have to have a sword? I'm not sure. Usually smiting has to do with a sword.
It does. Okay.
Maybe it could be a mace or a hammer.
I didn't even know that.
About smiting?
I didn't know.
Well, I don't have
I've never been smited. I never smited anybody myself.
I certainly never smited my parents.
Oh, well, go ahead. And if you did, you wouldn't be here.
Here's another one. You understand this. He that curseth his father. You know what curseth means.
I do know that, yeah.
Or his mother. What do you think? Is that a misdemeanor? Nope.
Death
put to
penalty.
Death. Put to death. Whosoever lieth with a beast shall surely be put to death.
Well, I agree with that.
No worries.
Shoot him.
If a man lie with mankind or a woman, put to death.
Yeah.
And the man that committed adultery with another man's wife, the adulterer and the adulteress, put to death.
Yeah.
Hollywood would be empty.
Goodness. right. That seems.
Anyway, here's a good one. This is a little more dramatic.
Is it?
Yeah. This is Malachi. And now, O ye priests, this commandment is for you. If you will not hear, and if you will not lay it to heart to give glory to my name, behold, I will corrupt your seed and spread dung upon your faces. And one of the regular commandments is that the Lord is a jealous Lord, and He's going to punish everybody to the third or fourth generation.
Well, see, that
seems a little harsh.
That transition took place within what they've called the Old Testament.
Yeah.
That is the
Was God wrong then?
jealous, mean, offensive God to a benevolent,
God was prickly and jealous. Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm not a theologian, just obviously,
That's
among
the
other
old
things,
covenant.
I'm not. But I do know that there is this transitional
God
kind
evolved.
of thing. Yeah, to be
Kind of.
Yeah, to be more.
You can watch God change over time.
Yeah, to
That's
be a little
good.
bit more
You're
benevolent.
like a God of grace. But if you start off, how can?
Well, a lot of that was
quite omnipotent.
That was a little rough. You know, people have the bumper sticker on their car. King James version is good enough for me, or something.
Yeah,
really,
it's good enough for me.
Truth
I
is,
love the King James version.
They haven't read it very well.
Oh, it's wow.
Yeah.
Read it. Holy smoke.
Yeah.
It said, go in there and kill everybody.
Yes.
Don't leave anybody. And throw salt on the fields. Don't leave anybody alive. The men, the women, the babies. Now, sometimes you could just kill the men and take the women and the children.
No,
but sometimes you had to kill every last one of them.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was rough.
It
was a rough
days.
time.
Those are rough days, yeah.
Okay, and we survived it, though. I mean, our people did, I guess, because we're here. I mean, whatever it was, we're on the winning side of that.
Our people were probably up, eating grubs in the forest in northern Europe. They hadn't progressed to the point of anything in writing.
Well,
that's probably what saved us.
Our people were the smitors, not the smitees, I would think, basically. All right, do you want to talk about the fiscal cliff?
Yeah, we should. Yeah.
All right, now you seem to know quite a bit about this, so I'll have you chime in. This is an article reprinted from the Washington Post by Susie Kim, Ezra Klein, Dylan Matthews, and Brad Plummer, dated today, which is very interesting. So I'll just kind of go through some of this. What is the fiscal cliff in one sentence?
Okay.
Much too much austerity, much too quickly.
Well, that's more of an opinion, isn't it?
Well, just hold on now. We're going to get to it. It's a lot of austerity, and it's fast.
Yeah.
For sure, okay?
A lot of increase in taxes and a lot of decrease in government spending right away.
If it's not a cliff, what is it? And there's an argument that it's a slope, okay? But if it's not a cliff, what is it? It is. The term fiscal cliff comes from testimony Fed Chairman Ben Bernanke delivered before Congress earlier this year. But as we mentioned, the cliff imagery has sparked some dissent. The Center on Budget and Policy Priorities thinks it's more of a slope. The Economic Policy Institute calls it an obstacle course, okay? Now,
well, something, excuse me for interrupting,
sure.
Something you ought to know. I mean, the fiscal cliff is this dramatic thing. If we go over the fiscal cliff and raise a lot more money in taxes and give out a lot less money to the military and lots of other things, it won't balance the budget.
Well,
it'll go a long way toward balancing the budget,
it will,
but it will not. We'll still be running deficits.
Yeah.
And
adding to the
I think people misunderstand. So I'm going to cut the deficit in half. That means you're going to slow the rate of growth of the national debt. That's all that means. That the national debt will keep growing, but maybe a little slower. Yeah,
there's nobody that's saying we're going to level it off and it's going to go down. All right, here's the thing. 5 tax measures have provisions expiring at year's end. All of the Bush tax cuts, as you know. The 2009 stimulus, the payroll tax holiday.
Right. The payroll tax holiday needs to go. That's crazy.
Yes. That was included in December 2010 tax deal. Slashed the payroll tax rate on employees from 6.2 to 4.2. Extending it would cost $115 billion. Alternative minimum tax and the extenders. Okay. Now, spending cuts. The sequester. You know what the sequester is? Okay. It's mandated by the Budget Control Act of 2011. This institutes a 2% cut in physician and other providers' Medicare payments and a 7.6 to 9.6% across-the-board cut in all discretionary spending, except for some programs for low-income Americans. The cuts are evenly divided between defense and non-defense programs, okay? That is a $50 billion item. It's a big item, huge.
And there are people who come and say, you cannot cut the military. Romney was saying we need to make the military bigger, which is not a good idea.
You asked me earlier about Obama and the surge.
Yeah.
Dead wrong.
The surge in Afghanistan.
Dead wrong. He listened to Petraeus, okay? He was wrong to do it. It didn't accomplish anything.
He was behind the surge. They threw more troops into that cesspool.
I'm just saying, he got talked into that by Petraeus and the rest of them. The generals on the ground.
He doesn't get talked into anything that isn't to his political advantage.
Well,
he's got the political antenna going out there.
He might have.
Look at the people surrounding him. They're all political people.
That was shocking that he did that. Shocking.
He shouldn't have done
Committed all of these young men and women. They're 30,000.
Surge.
Surge for what?
Surge for what? Yeah.
Okay. Budget caps. Also in the Budget Control Act, these set a firm limit on discretionary spending within which the policymakers must operate. They're set to reduce spending by $78 billion next year. Okay. The doc fix. This policy passed, you know what this is?
Yeah, I know what the doc fix
Every
is.
Congress for 15 years now, lapsing at the end of 2012.
Right.
Reverses temporary cuts that Congress passed in former Bill Clinton signed as a deficit reduction measure in 1997. If the fixed doc is not extended, physician payments, listen to this, would fall by almost 30% to physician reimbursements. Yeah.
That was a scam from the get-go. I mean, in order to make their budgets look better, they always say, well, years from now, we're going to just, because that's where all the money goes. Medicaid. A lot of the payments go for medical care.
Medicare,
So we're going to cut it drastically, and then they always get back and say, oh, all right, we're going to take it out. They've always done that. It's just a big lie to people, so the ruinous budgets that they're passing won't look as bad because the Congressional Budget Office has to score what they give them. And they wanted to keep Obamacare under $1 trillion or something, so it's unrealistic, and that shouldn't happen.
That should cut spending $14 billion if that's adopted. All right. Unemployment.
You won't get in some fields. It's hard to get doctors to treat Medicare patients now.
There's no question. If they cut that, problem. It's going to be a huge problem. Okay. Yeah. Unemployment insurance. Unemployment insurance was expanded following the recession, and due to the slow recovery, this expansion has been regularly extended. Yeah. All right. Extending it, $39 billion. Now listen to this. When exactly the debt ceiling is next reached depends on how much the government actually spends and taxes in the coming months. But most analysts think the next debt ceiling increase will come due around February.
Oh.
Okay, yeah, February. Good. We're going to be back to the same thing. Remember that big hoopla last year? Yeah. That's why they passed this crazy thing they passed, okay? Was to get the debt ceiling raised.
Kick the can down the road.
That's what they did. It is. Yeah. Here's this. What matters most in the fiscal cliff? Important to recognize that the austerity crisis is a collision between deficit reduction and stimulus. And it really is. If you reduce all this spending, there's little doubt that we're going to go into a recession.
That's what they say. But when are we going to reduce the spending?
Good. Analysts expect that the austerity crisis...
At some point, the bill goes due. We've been spending money, and it's been crazy under Obama.
I agree.
Spending $1 trillion a year more than we take in. That used to be a lot of money.
It isn't just Obama. Come on. It's everybody. If
you had to pick one person to blame...
George W. Bush.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Bush.
He jacked it up.
George W. Bush increased the national debt. George W. Bush governed in a crazy fashion. He kind of he was for the bailouts and the stimulus. Yeah. But under Obama,
you want
$1 trillion worse in debt every year.
Ronald Reagan. That's the worst. He spent just like a drunken sailor. He jacked up the defense budget through the roof. He the one who incurred these deficits.
And what was the national debt at the end of the Reagan administration?
Well, I know, it wasn't as much.
It's $16 trillion now. It was like $2 trillion then.
Okay, well, it's a trillion here, trillion there.
Yeah, it adds up.
It adds up. Okay.
It's an unimaginable amount of money.
Yeah. All right. How has Washington tried to solve the fiscal cliff in the past? The Bush tax cuts were actually scheduled to expire in 2010, but they keep getting extended. Okay, everybody keeps extending them. What do the parties agree on? Both parties agree that doing nothing and letting all the scheduled tax hikes and spending cuts go into effect for 2013 would be a terrible thing for the economy and something they want to avoid. No one likes the sequesters, indiscriminate across-the-board cuts, and few want to raise taxes significantly on the middle class.
How are you going to do it? How are you going to do it?
I don't know.
For every tax break, there is somebody vigorously.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just if you just tried to mess with in a tiny way, say we're going to phase out the home mortgage interest reduction for the people with big mortgages, for the people, and we're going to just kind of start to gradually phase it out. You will hear screaming and hollering. It's going to kill the housing. That's really a terrible policy. It needs to be phased out. We're going to have to take some pain. In order to put an end to this. Otherwise, our children, the interest rates are not going to be nothing like they are now. They're going to go up, and it's going to be a crisis. And if we go over the fiscal cliff and I have to pay more taxes, that's a lot better than I have to pay more taxes without reducing spending. So I'm all for it.
To the middle income taxpayers, it's going to be about $4,000 more a year if they go over the cliff. So I mean, there's going to be
which middle income taxpayers? The one that don't pay any taxes now?
No, I'm talking about people making 30 to 80 or 100,000 in that group.
It depends on where you are.
Well, I mean, obviously it's a percentage.
Half the people who are earning money don't pay any taxes.
I know.
Now, if some of them paid a little bit, just so that's some little skin in the game. So they wouldn't be so susceptible to this populist rant.
47%. Okay, yes, you're 47%. As usual, you have finished the closing argument. I now am told I have 15 seconds, and so the program closes on these outrageous things that you've just said. So we'll just have to come back next week and take another shot at it. Bill and Bob, nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. Send us a card, email, or a nice thank you note, whatever you feel like doing. See you next week.